Good morning, Joe Marino.
Good
So this debacle, and by the way, I don't know how this story. I mean, I don't know how this story. It's so bad. I don't know how it doesn't end up on national news.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, it's unfortunate, but stories like this are, they're unfortunate if it's all true. Naturally, it's embarrassing for all parties involved, the family.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, it's awful for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's why I wrote that letter to the mayor. I just think that enough is enough. I mean, I think that we need trained, educated people in positions to help these situations, to push us along. Because what I've been hearing over the last couple of days, and what's gotten me to the point where I felt the need to say something immediately, was the fact that our fire department is being treated like they're a fraternity house, I think they're being unfairly characterized as a bunch of Neanderthals, and that's not true.
Let me review the story a little bit.
Certainly.
We should. There is an allegation out there that has been made by a father, by a family, by three other sources. The sources came to us, and the word is this kid between the ages of 23 and 26 was being, based on text messages that we were provided, was being basically courted, if you will, parties with porn, sex games. What in the hell is a sword fight? Do you know what sword fights are? Because that's one of the allegations.
You'll have to go back to Google.
Yeah. Well, I did Google it, and don't Google it. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't. So, obviously, this is all with the current acting fire chief. So, yesterday, Bill Phillips had said if it's true, he should, at the very least, step down. He should resign. Will you go that far?
Look, I don't have and I'm not skirting it.
The question is if it's true. That's what Bill Phillips said yesterday. He didn't say he should resign. He said if this is true, he should resign.
If it's true, then of course I don't think that command positions are suited or suitable for people that would behave this way towards new recruits. If the allegations are true, again, though, for me, this position, this public safety commissioner position, it's very, very important to the city of Utica to have, if you're going to have it the right way, if you're going to have experience, if you're going to have training, if you're going to have investigatory background, because situations like this need to be looked at with a set of eyes that knows what they're looking at.
Yep.
And if this particular issue is true, someone in that position with that kind of education and training would have known how to handle this.
Does the mayor have any law enforcement experience?
No,
okay.
Not at all. I mean, the mayor's been politically appointed to a few things here and there, but there's actually no training. There's no driving training. It goes back to that issue when he was arriving on crime scenes early in his career as mayor. I mean, those kind of things open us up to liability. So for the sake of being...
And for that matter, by the way, the DA's office told us that they had to write a letter and tell him to no longer do that.
Which is embarrassing in and of itself that we have the DA telling our city leader to, so... But listen, for the idea that you're trying to save $60,000 to $80,000,
which is what Bill Phillips said, it'd be about $75,000.
Someone in that range, right, with that qualification, it's costing us so much more money than that. I mean, we're going to be on our third lawsuit if everything is true, and this because
if all of this is true,
if all of it's
I don't
true,
know how this family doesn't. I agree. Doesn't sue.
I agree, because their son was subject, again allegedly, to one of the most classic cases of sexual harassment.
Does it change? Does it change for you that he was 23, 24, 25?
It doesn't, and because again, when you say that they're, and I don't mean to keep on leading back to this, but the point that I'm here is that letter, and the reason that I'm here is to ask the mayor to step down from that position. It doesn't change for me because, again, if you're qualified to handle these positions, you know that there is sexual harassment. It's not a criminal matter. I don't think anyone thought that this was ever going to be a crime. It wasn't the criminal aspect.
And that is because he is of age.
Right. He's of age and consensual. But that doesn't mean that any circumstance with a subordinate is not
almost all these Me Too cases were
Certainly,
involved.
they're all of age.
Were involved people of age. Some didn't, but most of them
Some
did.
didn't.
Otherwise, it's criminal. But with that said, do you find that we look at it differently? I was going off in the 6 o'clock hour this morning over some criticism that we've received that is completely ridiculous and unjustified. But does it change for people? I think there's a double standard when it comes to guys in a situation like this and females. And it's when a boy, underage boy, is quote unquote raped by his 23-year-old school teacher.
Right.
All the guys are going through the place high-fiving the kid. And you have some adults out there saying, "Wow, I wish it was like that when I was in school."
Right.
If that was a girl, it would be rape. We would be calling for this person to be hanged. Why is it that we look at things differently? And I think we're looking at this case differently, saying, "Oh, it's a guy. He wouldn't have. No guy would fall for that."
Yeah, I agree.
At that age, kids can be extremely impressionable.
Certainly, and this particular person, from what I'm told, was ostensibly a fire groupie for his whole life. He always wanted to be a fireman, and he would have done practically anything to have become a fireman. And I think that double standard does exist. I don't share it. I don't think that anybody is more protectable. I don't think anybody is less protectable. I think that women that go through this happen to go through it more frequently, so those cases are out there, and that's unfortunate. So I guess perhaps when you see a man that goes through it and it's less common, that people tend to make jokes about it, and I think that that's unfortunate. But again...
And if the source is correct, shouldn't the issue be really about what is this... And you addressed this coming in. The fire department's being looked at like it's Animal House.
Right. And that's the main point.
So I think the main issue, while it's not criminal, it certainly has to do with policy. Should this sort of behavior, sword fights and porns and masturbation and group, should this stuff be going on inside the firehouse?
I don't blame anyone
if all of it is true.
Correct. If it's true, I don't blame anyone, including the mayor, for not knowing that this is going on for X amount of time. He can't be in a firehouse or a police department or the codes department, for that matter, every minute of every day. The point is, though, once you found out, how did you handle it? And from what I'm told, the mayor found out 4 months ago that this issue was going on, and not one thing was done, from what I'm told, until I got a email from Sonny Greco, the mayor's chief of staff, saying that there's been disciplinary measures. I'd like to see what those disciplinary measures are, because I think that the council and the city deserve to know what those disciplinary measures are if, in fact, something was found to be done in a way that was improper.
Two things. Now that we know who the individual is, do you think they would be bound because of the fact that it's a personnel matter? You can't maybe announce what the discipline is against a person? I mean, it's kind of known what the identity is.
Look, I listened to Councilman Phillips yesterday, and I think that, number one, I think Councilman Phillips, and I mean this sincerely, is one of the most honest men I've ever dealt with. We don't always agree on certain things. I mean, we disagreed on a few things very recently. We talk all the time, and I can't tell you how much I respect his opinion, even when I disagree with it. I agree with him on this particular issue, though. I don't think that law was meant to be a protector of something of this nature. I think that law was meant to protect an in-house incident between, a couple of employees, maybe physical altercations, things like that, or even financial fiduciary responsibilities. I don't think that it was meant to protect this. And I challenge the mayor to put that out there and tell the people. And I also challenge him, and part of this letter is to go out there and tell people that you're safe in the city. Tell them that the Utica Police Department and the Utica Fire Department are not just a bunch of Neanderthals, and tell them that these people, because that's what I wanted to say most often, is that these people are fine individuals. 99% of them have zero problems whatsoever. Everyone has an issue in their family, and these departments are families. But how you handle it and how you lead those issues. Right now, if I'm a fireman, I'm, number one, ashamed, right, because of the public perception, and number two, I have no one to turn to. Because I can't go to a man who I've been through years of training and then go to a public safety commissioner who's my direct supervisor and say, here's what's going on. They're going to have no idea what I'm talking about. So we need a professional in there to limit liability, to handle issues like this. We need them to really take ownership of their departments. Those kind of things are really falling apart right now, and it's not fair.
I do agree that the statute, I don't think the statute protects. You have here a manager who is allegedly conducting these sorts of parties with a potential recruit. I don't believe
don't
that
see that
there's
it's a
any
civil rights
there's
issue.
any civil rights issue at all there. And I think that we ought to get our guy from Albany on to just freedom of information. What are we entitled to?
Right.
But don't you think also one of the big questions that people should be asking right now is if there was a punishment, which the mayor's office in this release said there was, does that include this person is no longer going to be chief? Because based on all of the messages that are out, all of the stuff that's out, if this stuff is all real,
Right.
it's pretty egregious. I don't know how someone could conduct the business of being fire chief if all of what is being accused is true.
Yeah, and again, I'm not a professional in public safety either. And I'm certainly not a professional in managing an entire department of fire people. However, if you've gotten, from what I'm told 4 months ago, if you've gotten what I've seen as these interchanges between these two individuals, how you can leave someone on the job to still interact with other people before you find an investigation to be
Technically,
complete?
to potentially interact with family members
to
of
possibly
the
do
victim.
it again, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's another thing that could just add to the problem in the future.
Yeah.
So if there is a lawsuit and they are told that they have to go through this issue, the first thing they're gonna say is, was the guy taken off the job and removed from the situation?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Was Palmieri in a previous administration a public safety commissioner?
He was a deputy public safety commissioner under someone.
Okay.
I'm not sure who.
So then he does have some experience.
Again, it's a political appointment. I mean, there's
Okay.
no training that goes along with being the deputy public safety commissioner.
Based on what you just said, though, couldn't he just, if he appointed someone, it could be just a political appointment with someone who doesn't have experience in either of those fields?
And that's a great question, and it's a good point. And the fact is, of course, that's always the liability that you carry. But if you put someone in there that's had that training, that's gone through the courses, they have ethics, at very minimum, during a lawsuit, if a judge says, do you have experience in handling public safety issues? Yes, I do. What was your training? Here it is. At least the mayor cannot take any advice he wants or take any advice he wants. But when you put a professional, it's actually, Jeff, better to have no one. It would be better, in my opinion, to have 0 people there, have no public safety commissioner, and let the chiefs be the head of the departments themselves.
Because they have the experience.
They have the experience and training.
And it just,
But then you've got the people from within.
I mean, and not to mention
managing
that you're insulated
themselves
from issues. You know, you get someone that can really deal with the day to day. Because look, I don't think the mayor should be public safety commissioner and mayor at the same time. I don't think that the mayor should be the engineer and the mayor at the same time. It's too much going on.
I wonder if there was a public safety commissioner, if the Fort story ever would have seen the light of day.
Yeah, well, look, there's just so many issues. I mean, the Fort story, Chief Brooks's letting go was handled terribly. I mean, all these things could have been at least addressed more appropriately by someone with that kind of training and education.
Did you say you're hearing there was no repercussion for this?
No, I didn't say that. I said I'd like to see what it is. And if there is some, I'd like to be able to handle it through a council level. I think, and to your point, I think the Common Council's Public Safety Committee, which, by the way, Bill Phillips is the chair of, I think the Public Safety Committee should involve themselves in the search for this candidate, because the more people that are involved, the less politicized something becomes. It's the nature of it. But when you try to be everything to everyone, eventually mistakes are made. And the mistakes in our case are risk, liability, and lawsuits, and we've gotten them in spades. And it's costing taxpayers money. So we're saving 60, and it could potentially cost us millions. It doesn't make any sense.
Final question. You wearing boxers or briefs?
No. But I will say this. In my letter, too, I did offer, because I'm aware that there is differences between the mayor's managerial style and myself.
Yeah.
I did offer to sit with the mayor, put our differences aside, because this issue is way too important. I take them very seriously. The mayor put out a zero-tolerance press release several months ago in relation to the Me Too movement, which was politically convenient. Let's see if that's actually the case. Let's see if that zero tolerance is actually true.
Well, it can't be the case if this has been known since March.
And Fort was treated much differently than
Fort was treated differently.
Much differently.
Chief Brooks was treated differently, and to be fair, we don't know what the punishment was. We're told there was a punishment. We don't know what it was. So.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Guys,
Appreciate
thank you so much for the time.
Got a break.